Watch these two clips very closely. Now I'm going to pose a question to you. In each clip, why did I die? If you say I got outskilled by a better player, I say fuck you. In this clip, I use a holographic, a one-time scope. And as you can see, I engage in a long-distance fight.
Why is he bricked?
Which is, funnily enough, the downside to using a one-time scope. And yes, I reported this guy after because he's clearly hacking if he killed me. And in this clip, I found myself in a close range fight while I just so happened to be using a high magnification scope, which I will also point out is not a strong suit. Now, I won't beat around the bush. Both of these fights I lose purely because of the scope I was using. Like, gosh, it wasn't because I suck. No. What these clips both portray is a risk versus reward system. When you use a low magnification scope, you excel in close range fights, while the trade-off is that in a long range engagement, you'll be about as useful as one of these chumps in an ocean marathon. That being said, the opposite is true for a high magnification scope. You absolutely fuck bitches at high range, but gently stroke the tip at short range. Both of these scopes have a clear upside and excel at their given purpose, but when not in the situations they're intended for, there's a steep fall off. This is risk versus reward. It's a system that makes shit like this so much fun. It's a dynamic and interesting element that made the choosing of a site really interesting. That was until Ubisoft made the biggest mistake in Rainbow Six Siege history.
Oh no!
It all started with the release of Operation Shadow Legacy. Yeah, the season where they confirmed the bald dude from Splinter Cell was officially molding. This was a pretty big season, as most of the big changes that came along have been monumental plays in how Siege functions today. Chalet was reworked, pretty well I'll admit. Ping 2.0 was released. You know how whenever you ping like a gadget or a cam of any kind, there would be like an icon to accompany it? And map banning was introduced, thank fucking god. It means I don't have to play these garbage maps that I fucking loathe. But the biggest part of the season was the complete overhaul of gun sights. There was a new red dot, this ugly ass holographic sight that I've never seen anybody use past silver, a new 2x magnification scope, and a 3x scope for DMRs that nobody should ever fucking use. And more importantly than anything else this season, a sight called the 1.5. Now, the seasoned Siege veterans among you, or as I like to call us, virgins, know exactly where I'm going with this. But for those who don't, the 1.5 is a sight that has a 1.5 magnification, hence the name. There are many other sights in the game that have different magnifications. Most importantly, your holos, reflexes are what we'd like to call a 1x magnification. Pretty simple explanation. When you ADS, you won't zoom in at all. An ACOG is a 2.5 magnification, so kind of the other end of the spectrum in comparison to the 1x. That's why the ACOG is widely acclaimed to be the king of sniping kids out of spawn. For a long time though, it was only the 1x and 2.5x scopes, which as previously cited had a risk versus reward system. Sure, you can take an ACOG and you'll probably slam at long ranges, but if that vigil hiding in that nook is right up in your face, let's just say you're not on the favored side. Same with the 1x. Close range fights are your jam. You want to be close enough to kiss the other player, but long range fights, you better say goodbye to that pretty head of yours. And to top it all off, the 1.5 is absolutely tiny on your gun, but I'm sure it has a really cool personality that makes up for this lack in size. And in comparison to other magnified scopes which take up half your screen, the difference in size can make a big difference in most situations. So when you can have the best of both worlds in the 1.5 and get rid of that risk of each of the different sights, you have a ridiculously busted sight that pushes all other options to the near unplayable category. And this isn't even like a hot take. The 1.5 dominates the rest of the sights like your mother and I on a Friday evening, especially on the defender side. If you have a gun that shoots bullets and that gun has a 1.5 scope, that operator is probably top tier. This problem is exacerbated in operators like Warden. Sure, his ability's like good in certain situations, I guess, but don't fuck with me. You don't pick Warden because he's dripped out. You pick Warden because the attackers seem to have gotten a little too comfortable walking out of main entrance on coastline. And if you look back at the most dominant defenders in recent years, guess what nearly every single one has in common? Mozzie, Alibi, Legion, Oryx, Warden, Capcan. If you said a 1.5, you would be correct. Here, have this gold fucking star, you drooling troglodyte. I'm glad you can form coherent fucking thoughts. And you gotta think about this for a second. If adding a sight to an operator instantly makes it a top tier pick, I think it's a good time to take a long, hard look at what you consider balanced Ubisoft. And that's how we ended up in a position where no one picks sides outside of the 1.5 if they can. Because why engage in the risk versus reward system when you can just cut out the risk part? You get a side that can crush at short ranges while also being able to hold up incredibly well at long range. It's not too hard to see why the 1.5 has been the go-to side for a while now. And though it hasn't dominated the game in a way that makes people upset, it's played a big factor in the run and gun meta due to its versatility and ranges. Because why roam clear and get the wall open with thermite when you can just sprint into sight and put oil coins on who can hit the other guy's head the fastest? Which is why, after 5 long years, Halo Wars reference, Ubisoft has finally fixed their dog shit game and removed the 1.5. And it kind of felt like the change we didn't know we needed. Like before Ubi announced the removal of the 1.5, you never really heard people calling for its ban. Sure, there were definitely rumbles in the community and discussions about the point, but there wasn't a general consensus to remove the 1.5. But let me just say, this has been one of the best decisions Ubisoft has made since the Master Chief Sledge skin, and the combination of slowing ADS time makes me think that Siege's gameplay will be slowing down from the previous Yano Warden 1.5 run and gun meta. Finally, Doc ACOG is back, and my friends, the grass is greener and the sun shines just a little brighter after the reintroduction of Ash ACOG. I want to mention too, I've seen people complain about the removal of the 1.5, and to that, I say fuck you, new gens. Ubisoft has finally fixed the biggest mistake in Rainbow Six Siege history, and it feels good. This update makes me hopeful for the future of the game. This might just be the genius decision that revives Rainbow Six Siege. Ha, a little Garlors reference for you all. 1.5-less Siege is genuinely refreshing as well. It feels like your side choice actually has an effect on your gameplay, instead of just mindlessly picking the 1.5 on every single gun. And unlike the 1.5, if a defender has an ACOG, for the most part, it doesn't feel like their character is leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the pack that only have single magnification sights. Though I'm a big believer that Jaeger should have gotten an ACOG, more out of an irrational need than a gameplay benefit standpoint. And every attacker having access to an ACOG was probably the greatest decision they could have made. And operators like Castle and all the MP5 variants getting ACOGs was pretty Samwise Gamgee if you ask me. I'm just saying, older ACOG. Sure, I think it might push Maestro into a top tier operator, but what the fuck else does that have Italian going for him, bro? And fuck it, while we're at it, SMG 11 ACOG, I think this would just make the game better. I think it just would. But where will Siege go from here? The game is constantly in a state of balancing hell. That's just the nature of the beast with this game. And already with this new season, I've seen Ash pick like every single round. Not to say this is a bad thing. I'm sure people just want to play R4C ACOG again. But it just makes me wonder, is Ubisoft gonna remove the ACOG from certain operators again? I can't imagine they would tread the same path twice. But this is Ubisoft we're talking about. Even putting out a working season seems to be an afterthought for them. I just hope we see balancing tackled in another way apart from just removing an operator's sights and giving them more recoil, because Siege is such a dynamic game with so many elements that can be tweaked. I just hope Ubi can see that. And to the 1.5, I got a few words for you. Rest and piss, you bum shit ass site. If I see you again, I'll fucking kill you.